Thank you so much. And then without renunciation, it doesn't lead to liberation. So there's many tantric practitioners, yeah, everything is bliss, let's enjoy everything. Right? So where's the renunciation? Where's the determination to become free? Right? So without that, it's not even a path to liberation. And without the realization of bodhicitta, it's not a Mahayana practice. So what is our tantric practice? You see, what's apart from putting imprint for future lives, So I think even if one practices Tantra, one has really to put effort in one's ethic, in one's concentration, in one's determination to become free, in generating genuine bodhicitta. And then on that base, Tantra, with bodhicitta at the base, and then with concentration and emptiness, then Tantra can become a quick path to enlightenment. But without that foundation, so for example, our precious teacher Lama Zopa Rinpoche, see his whole life, his job was to help us to generate those realization within our own mind. And if we don't get this realization, it's not the fault of the teachings, it's not the fault of the teacher, it's a fault because we didn't practice properly. We didn't actually put the instruction into practice how it is supposed to work, right? So on the base of Guru Yoga, on the base of purifying, accumulating merit, receiving the blessing of the Guru, then on that base, you train in the Lamrim. So for example, in the beginning, in the 1980s, I don't remember, maybe 86 or 87, in Dharamsala, there was the Dharma celebration, and His Holiness gave the teaching on the Lamrim Chemo, the great stage of the path to enlightenment from Lama Tsongkhapa. And at that teaching, he said, I'm now 62. I think he was 62 or 61, something like that. I'm now 62, and I read the Lamrim Chemo 62 times. So I read it as same time as my number of years, as many times as my number of years. I thought, wow. His Holiness read it 62 times. And I read it once and I feel I've done my job, I was really shocked, 62 times, And, some of you might have received commitment from Lama Zopa Rinpoche, to read the Lamrim 3 times or 7 times, from beginning to end and start all over again, So that's one way Lama Zopa Rinpoche had helped his student, as well, to repeat the same text, a certain number of times. And to other students, he would say, you stay on that topic for 3 months, and then that topic for 6 months, and that topic of 2 months, So there's different way Lama Zopa Rinpoche guided his student like that. And there's another way, is the way you stay on a topic until you have the realization, right? And only then you move to the next topic, like that. And there's another way, Geshe Tekshok taught at Nalanda. So if you make 4 sessions a day, the first session is always how to relate to the spiritual teacher, how to, guru devotion, how to realize spiritual teacher, like that, because that's the topic, is the subject that takes the longest to realize. So actually, that topic mostly comes from Tantra, right? But because all the realization, all our spiritual progress depends on how we relate to our spiritual teacher. So that is graphed at the beginning of the Lamrim, because actually the Lamrim is a preparation for Tantra, right? So once you have the Lamrim realization, then you move on to Tantra to get enlightenment quickly, right? So the first topic was Guru devotion, and then the second and third session, you move through the Lamrim. So the second session would be precious human rebirth, the third session, precious human rebirth, and the last session would always be emptiness, right? So you start like that, and maybe after a month, the first session is still Guru devotion, the second and third becomes impermanence and death, and then the fourth is always emptiness, right? And then after, let's say, another month, first session still Guru devotion. The second and third becomes what? No, that's the second, death and impermanence. What's after that? Come on. Come on. Oh, I thought you were all Lamrimpas after all these years.
Marjorie says karma.
No, come on. No, no.
Jennifer says bodhicitta.
Yeah. So after impermanence and death in the Lamrim, so after that, what could happen if one has the karma, one could end up in the three lower realm, right? So then is meditation on the lower realm, so that you really generate aversion to them and don't want to end up there, so that you live in a way that you don't end up there. Right? So it's the suffering of the lower realm, right? And then, so first session, Guru devotion, second and third lower realm, last session, emptiness. Okay? And then after a while, what's the next topic? Refuge, right? So then you don't want to end up in the lower realm, so from the heart you take refuge to protect you from taking rebirth in the lower realm. So it says that whoever takes sincere refuge, even though he has the karma to end in the lower realm, he won't end up there, because the mind of refuge is so powerful, so virtuous, it prevents that karma from ripening. Okay? So then one meditates on refuge, the quality of Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, and how to take refuge and so forth, right? So what's the topic after that? After refuge? Come on. You don't know that by heart. You should know it frontward, backward, square, inside, outside. You should know it by heart by now.
Beth and Corey say precious human birth.
So after refuge, the first instruction the Buddha gives us is how to lead a virtuous life. So that we live in a way that we don't create the cause for being born in the lower realm, right? So it's a teaching on karma, right? So, and that actually it becomes your main practice in everyday life, to be aware whether you create virtue or non-virtue throughout your day. you know, and each time you sleep, you create non-virtue, you know, get upset with somebody, criticize somebody, or do something naughty, you know, then you generate regret, you know, and you recite the Vajrasattva mantra, or, you know, or in the evening you do some purification practice, you know, to clean your mind from that. Like, you know, we brush our teeth, you know, every day, once or twice, right? Or we take a shower. So we take care of our body every day. Why don't not take care of our mind, right? So the same thing is just mental hygiene, you know, to take care of your mind. So you have to see whether your mind becomes dirty or not. And when the mind becomes dirty, you clean it, right? So that's teaching on karma. And if you live like that, you feel like you're a decent human being and you take care, you know, you have a good life. And you don't worry when you die, you know, because you have taken care of your mind. Okay? So after that, what comes after karma? So morning still, Guru devotion, middle. No, you don't look in a book, you know, look in your mind. No cheating. Oh. No, then comes the suffering of cyclic existence, right? What is how, what it is to be born again and again and again? What does it imply, you know? So all the different problems that we face from lifetime to lifetime. No? So usually you speak about the 8 suffering that pertains to human being, then the 6 that pertains to all the different realms, you know, and the 3, you know. So the suffering of pain, the suffering of change, you know, all our pleasure, they never last. And then the all pervasive suffering, the mere fact of having a body of flesh and bone and having those thoughts and those emotions that arise, you know, the mere fact of having that is suffering. So you really reflect on the problem of this ordinary life, you know, to be born again and again, in birth, old age, sickness, there's burn, you know, for billions of life, you know. So you imagine many, many lives, you know, or you put yourself in the shoes of other people. How would it be like to be like that? So you reflect on suffering till the point you don't want to take rebirth anywhere in cyclic existence. You don't want to become a god. You don't want to become, you know, an asura. You don't want to be. You don't. You don't want to become Trump. You know. You don't want to become Elon Musk. You know. You don't want to become. What's her name? Taylor, what? Swift Taylor. You don't want to become Brad Pitt, you know, all these things that for us symbolize, you know, the perfection of human realm, right? Of being a human. So you see that just as suffering, just as problem, you know. So you come to a point you see that like that. You know, you don't want to become a god, you know, which lives for millions of years, which just has sensual pleasure his whole life, doesn't need to work, things, you know. You don't want all that. You see all that as just problems. And when you got that state of mind, what's the next state of mind? What's the next? Yes, so basically you want to understand the cause of suffering. How come that we have problems? How come we have problems as human? How comes we have problems in any of the six realms? How does it work? What is the causality, the cause and effect? How does it work? You know, what's the engine that produces all these things? So there you meditate on the cause of suffering, you know. So the basic ignorance or mistaken perception of reality, and then the emotions that are produced by that, because we don't understand who we really are, who the other people really are, what the objects are. You see, we, with our mistaken perception, we reify everything. Everything is solid, concrete. And thereby, there are things out there that you can want. There's an I that want, and there's something to be want, you know, to be wanted. Yes, kind of like that, right? So, because we don't see reality, we don't see that everything is just rainbow-like, you know, or like quantum physics. You see, the world doesn't exist fundamentally the way our sense make us believe. So on that base, all our mental affliction or disturbed state of mind can arise. And due pushed by this mistaken state of mind, then we create all our beautiful actions, right? That again leave an imprint on our mind that pushes us to behave in certain ways. And that produces the effect of happiness and suffering that we experience. So there you have to meditate on that till you really grasp experientially how it works. You know, how does samsara work? You know, how does ignorance produce mental affliction, and how the mental affliction makes us act, and how this act, this cause produce the effect of this experience of happiness and suffering. So you really have to chew over that till you think, oh yes, I get it now. No? So one meditation is meditate on the 12 link of dependent arising, and the other one is to meditate on the 6 main delusion and the 20 secondary delusions. And that leads you to a specific state of mind where you say, I don't want to take rebirth, nowhere. I want to end the whole process of taking rebirth under the control and karma and delusion. I want to stop taking rebirth because no matter where I end up, it's just another type of problems. No? So that state of mind when you don't want to take rebirth, well, is called the state of mind, the determination to become free. Where any object, when any pleasure you look at is just another problem. You see, when you're poor, you have the problems of being poor. When you're rich, you have the problems of being rich. The grass is always greener on the other side of the fence, but when you're on the other fence, you also have problems. So there's no lifestyle that doesn't have problem. So once you realize that, you know, you want to become free of all these rebirths. So once you get that state of mind where you're not interested to go on holiday anywhere, you know, you don't want anything because you realize it's just problems. So once you have that state of mind and you aspire to this liberation, you know, so that's what we call renunciation or the determination to become free. Again, it's a really very specific state of mind. Where us, we try to make our everyday comfortable. You know, we like to make our cyclic exist or our samsara comfortable. We don't want to get out. We just want to make it cozy, you know. But a person that really realizes what life is about, he just wants to end it forever. Because no matter where you end up, it's just the same thing again. So how do we become free of cyclic existence? So then the work is to train in three things. On the basis of ethic, you develop calm abiding. On the basis of calm abiding, you use your wisdom to see through reality. You try to see things as they are, right? So you realize that there's no real I existing from his own side. There's no real body. There's no real mind. There's no real world. There's no real living beings. Ultimately, if you try to find the essence of everything, you don't find anything. And once you experience no essence in anything, there's nothing for you to be attached to. There's nothing for you to crave. There's nothing on you to hinder you, to hold you back. And then even though you live in the world, there's nothing you are attached to. There's no beings you are attached to. There's no object you are attached to. There's no aim for you to go anywhere. So psychology, you become completely free and you're at ease in any situation. Your mind doesn't produce attraction or aversion. The mind is psychologically free. So how you get that? As by training on the base of ethic, you develop calm abiding, shamatha. And then on that base, you use your wisdom to see reality as it is. You try to find the essence of things and you don't find any essence. And then you soak your mind in this essencelessness of yourself and of everything. And by experiencing that, you become free. You experience a total sense of bliss, joy, and peace all the time. So that's the path of beings that follow the path to liberation, you know, the arhat, those which become arhats. So in the Lamrim, there's something else. So you try to develop this determination to become free, but then instead of getting that freedom, you do something else before. So what do you meditate on then? What's the next topic? Hmm? Yes, it's training in bodhicitta. It's to realize that yes, as I am, enchained in cause and effect endlessly from lifetime to lifetime, as I am in that predicament, all living beings are exactly the same. So it is for my wife, so it is for my children, so it is for my parents, my friends, people in my country, all human beings and all beings in the sixth realm, wherever there are living beings who wish to be happy, those which don't have realized things as they are, they're all enchained in cause and effect and in suffering. So what is so special about me? Why do I worry so much about me and I don't care for all the others which are exactly in the same situation? So there comes this training in this altruistic state of mind. I don't want to become free just myself. I want to free all living beings. So this is try to induce this state of mind that is completely mind-blowing, where one takes commitment upon oneself. I don't care so much about my happiness. I care about bringing all living beings to this ultimate happiness. So that's the mind of enlightenment, right? And there, so first one, in that training, one sees the beauty of such a state of mind, how wonderful it would be if one could induce that altruistic state. And then one's entered a training to generate that state of mind through the meditation we are going to go do together now. And then once one has bodhicitta, what does a bodhisattva do? He trains in the sixth perfection. So he tries to perfect his giving, he perfects his ethic, he perfects his patience, he perfects his joyous effort or perseverance, he perfects his concentration, and he perfects his wisdom, right? Understanding reality. So that's the job of a bodhisattva or a bodhisattvas. Like, I think Bob Thurman used that term, bodhisattvas. Female bodhisattvas. Bodhisattvas. Yeah. Yes, and that's the spiritual journey one is on. And once one has those realization, then one can enter the quick tantric path. Then, it says within 12 years or within, 6 years or 3 years, you can become enlightened to the tantric path. But that works only once you have realized the Lamrim, right? So you cannot say, now I do Tantra instead of the Lamrim and take the quick path. It doesn't work. Yeah, so I was at that thing. So if on those 4 sessions, first Guru devotion, then the second and third one goes through all the meditation we described, and the last one keeps emptiness, right? And then if one does only 3, if one does only 3 sessions a day, the first Guru devotion, the second one goes through the Lamrim, and the last emptiness. And if one does only 2, the first Guru devotion, and the second one goes to the Lamrim. And if one does only 1, well, one goes, through the Lamrim. And then, personally, when I did a 2.5-year retreat in Spain a long time ago, so I would have 4 or 5 texts of the Lamrim together, and I would study the same topic. For example, in there was liberation at palm of your hand, and then there was a few texts from His Holiness, and then light rays of the sun. So different Lamrim texts, and then I would read the same topic, let's say precious human rebirth, in all these different texts. So it gives you a different flavor from different author on the same topic, and like that. And when I taught, I got a good experience of that point, then I would move to the next point. So when you do Lamrim retreat, you don't read a little bit of this, little bit of that, little bit of that. No, you really stick to only reading about that topic. So you don't read a novel in the break time or a biography or something on another topic. You only read about your topic. You completely immerse yourself into that topic. And even in the break time, you look everything from that perspective. So that really, it transforms your mind very deeply. And then each meditations you know, when you have the realization, a certain sign that you have actually got the point, you know, there's some change in your outlook on life. That is a sign that you actually got the realization of that point. But that's maybe not the right time. It would take too long to explain all that. So if there's certain text, like for example, in the liberation of palm of your hand, at the end there's an appendix, I think appendix number 6 or 7, and there it describes the signs of having those realization. And in shorter text, like the hymns of experience from Lama Tsongkhapa, he also express some signs if you have the realization, and also in the three principal aspect of the path. It also show you some signs when you have reached the determination to become free or bodhicitta or so forth. Okay, so now we're going to train in trying to expand one's love and compassion. So we all have a certain love and compassion, right? So the training is to make it more profound and vaster, you know, like that. So the first topic, Nina, was who was doing the first one? Huh? Jeff? Yes. Okay. So Jeff is going to lead us in a meditation on the on equanimity. So that you see, one problem we have in life is that we categorize people in our friends, also people which help us. So we behave in a certain way towards our friend. We behave in another way towards people we don't like, and we behave in a different way again with people which we don't know. So our heart will always different depending on who we are with. So that meditation is to try to make us see that whether people are our friend, our enemy, or our stranger, we should behave with everyone in the same way, you know. So to develop that sense of equanimity in one's heart. You have a microphone? So yes, so each meditation about 5 minutes, and when I do like that, so it means you have 1 minute to wrap it up, okay? Just one thing to say. So we as the public, you know, when Jeff leads them, you try to follow his stream of thought, and you try to induce the states of mind that he describes, you know. So it's like you have to follow and try to experience what he tries to make us experience. So that's how analytical meditation works. So you have to imply yourself into it. Right? You don't read it as a spectator. You have to get involved. Sorry.
So we begin by visualizing 3 individuals in front of us. One of them is a friend. One of them is a stranger. And one of them is someone that you dislike, or maybe someone that annoys you.
Little bit louder.
Okay, is this better?
Yeah.
And when we look at each of these individuals, we think about what do they do for us, or what do they not do for us? So when we think about the friend, maybe it's someone that you've known since childhood, or someone that you just recently met. But you like them. And why do you like them? Because they make you smile, they make you laugh. They're there when you need help. So they're comforting you. But was this person always a friend? Before they were your friend, were they a stranger? You didn't know them at all? So then we look at the person that you dislike. And why do we dislike them? Do they push your buttons? Do they not smile at you? Do they not comfort you? Do they make you angry? And then when we look at the stranger, so maybe the shopkeeper, you don't know them, you don't know their name. They don't make you angry. They don't annoy you. But they also don't make you happy. It's completely indifferent. There's no emotional engagement. So we can see that they're all seemingly interchangeable, right? So strangers became friends, strangers became annoying. But could they reverse? Can a friend become a enemy? Someone that you dislike? Or could someone that you dislike do something really nice for you and become your friend? So can we see that they're all the same? They're all the same in that they want to be happy, regardless if you're friends with them or adversaries or have no relationship. They just want to be happy. And they don't want to suffer, just like me, right? I don't want pain. I don't want suffering. I just want to be happy. So when we put aside all the agendas, all the aspirations that are in the samsaric world, we're all the same. We just want to be happy and not suffer. Just like our friends and our strangers and those that we don't like.
Thank you, Jeff. So it was quite good. Just one point, what that meditation, the important point of that meditation is that the person is a friend, is not a friend innately. The fact that he's a friend is because that person behaves in a certain way. He makes us happy, he helps us. And the person that is an enemy is not innately an enemy. You know, it's just as the moment that person behaves in a way that makes us uncomfortable, makes us unhappy, and we want to get away. You know, we are annoyed by that person. But that person is not innately an enemy. It's just that person at the moment behave in a certain way that we don't like. And then the stranger, you know, we kind of indifferent towards him because he neither benefits us nor harms. Right? So we kind of indifferent towards that person. But again, that stranger is not inherently a stranger. That stranger, you know, that shopkeeper, as Jeff was saying, he can smile at us, make a joke, you know, makes us a gift, invite us for dinner, and suddenly he's not a stranger anymore. He becomes a friend. And then the friend, you know, let's say your partner or your child or your business partner, you know, is your friend. But then suddenly he does something that really hurts you, you know, that really, really hurts you. And then suddenly he's not a friend anymore, right? He hurts you so much that actually he becomes your enemy. You know, you cannot stand him or her anymore. And then the one that at the moment, you know, because of his or her behavior, you call an enemy or somebody you dislike. But then that person suddenly changes his or her behavior and becomes very nice towards you, you know, gives you present for your birthday and invites you to watch a bull game, and you know, you become buddies and things like that. And suddenly actually he wasn't, deep down he wasn't that annoying guy, you know, actually he's a nice guy. And then he becomes your friend. And then people, you know, for example, earlier in your life, that are your friends, and then you lose touch. And after 20, 30 years, you know, they become complete stranger to you. You don't know them anymore. And even if you meet, you hardly recognize, or you have nothing anymore in common. So what that meditation does is to realize that these people are not fixed in this category. They are like that just because of circumstance, because the way they behave towards you. And if they change their behavior, your relationship to them also changes. And that is true within one life, but is even more true from lifetime to lifetimes. You know, so a person that has clairvoyance, can see, in one life we kill each other, and then in the next life we marry each other and we have kids together. So it is completely absurd, how we relate to each other based on this circumstance of life, that constantly change, constantly evolve. So we know that how even within this life, our relationships change with people. So the person we like, the people we call our enemy, our friends are not innately friends, are not innately good, are not innately special. It's just due to the way they behave, due to the way they are, because they're friends, because they help, because they make us so happy. So those ones, we befriend, we call friends, right? And people which harm, which are mean, which hinders our project, which criticize us, so we don't like, right? And the other ones, we are indifferent. But these things constantly change and evolve, right? So they are not innately like that. They are like that due to circumstances. So once you realize that, you decide from your own side, you will relate to all beings in an equal way. You will not being very nice to your friend and very hurtful towards your enemy and indifferent towards stranger. So you try, to realize that these situations are circumstantial and they constantly evolve and change, and that there's no reason to be attached to your friend and have aversion to your enemy. So one meditation is that to see the person which is most precious to you in life, which is your friend. You imagine that that person has killed you, has tortured you, has criticized you, has harmed you. That very best friend in a previous life was completely opposite, right? And then the one that is your enemy now, he has been your partner, your child, the most precious things in your life. And then the person you're indifferent with, has been both, has been your dearest friend and your worst enemy. So like that, you work to that till you reach that state of mind where you have this equal attitude towards everyone. And that's the base on which then to develop love. You see, if you develop love before equalizing all beings, then your love will always be partial. You will be able to develop love to the people which you like. You will have a little bit more difficulty towards a stranger, and you will find it very hard towards your enemies, towards the people you don't like. So you will not be able to develop an equal love to all living beings. Right? So it needs that foundation of you being able to equalize all beings. Otherwise, it doesn't work. Okay, second one. So the second meditation you see is to realize that one has countless lives, and in all these lives, all beings could have been one's mother, something like that.
Venerable Rene yesterday was speaking about the hundreds of karmas that we create every day. To think about all the many lifetimes of karma we've created, which has taken us to many realms, countless lives from beginningless time. And we've come across, and all the other people around us have also been doing the same. And all of us had countless lives. So that means that all the beings, each of them, has been at some point someone who we have loved, who has loved us at least once, maybe many, many times. So they've been our mother, father, and so on. And we can develop our love and compassion on the basis of the kindness of our mother. So if all of the beings have been our mother at some point in our lives, and we consider our mother to be the kindest of all, at least in this life that we know of, then how can we not feel the same kind of love towards all beings? So some of us maybe have difficult relationships with our mother. It doesn't matter. We can choose whoever we feel close to, who has been the most kind to us. It can even be an animal, a pet dog or cat or whatever. But in any case, if we think about our mother and her kindness, I mean, if she has done nothing else for us, she has given us this body. I mean, without this body, we cannot even make any progress. This is the highest form of birth we can take to be on the path to enlightenment, to bodhicitta, to emptiness, to renunciation. All those things depend on this body. So really think about that for a minute. And then to give us this body, our mother went through so much pain and difficulty. She took so much care of herself during those 9 months of pregnancy to make sure she ate the right foods, didn't drink alcohol, and so on. Took rest when she needed. The pain she suffered, from nausea and this massive belly and so on. You'd be hard to sit, get up, sleep maybe sometimes because of indigestion. But she bore that through with patience because she had this incredible love for the being that was to become. And then she, of course, went through the agony of giving birth. And when we came out, we were just a helpless thing. All we could do was cry and poop. And she took care of us without any consideration for herself. She fed us when we needed, comforted us when we cried. cleaned our bottoms without any feeling of disgust. So we are where we are only because of these caring acts that she did. And then when we were young, we knew nothing. She had to teach us how to not put our hand in the fire, how to walk, how to speak, how to say, various, words, how to read, how to take care of ourselves, how to go to the bathroom. Just basic things that we take for granted. And then she went through so much trouble to protect us. And she would have given her life if she could save us from some kind of accident. Think recently about the tragic knife attack in Australia. There was this mother who gave up her life. She ran while bleeding to give her baby to the paramedics, and she died. So that kind of kindness no one has for us. Think about that for a minute. Just truly amazing. And she went through so much trouble to take, to make sure we were okay. She defended us even when we probably were at fault. I remember my mother pleading with our school principal in India not to fail me on 3rd and 4th grade because of the stigma of what that would be. And then she probably, committed negative actions on her part. She lied probably at certain instances for me. Parents and mothers who steal food to give to their children. Birds or animals that kill to provide food for their young. That is throwing karma into another lower realm, but they do that for their young. So if all these beings have been our mother, many times in the past, how can we not consider them as dear as our mother? So really just settle on that for just a few seconds and just think about it.
Thank you, Shonka. So I think this meditation was quite good and reached a point. You see, if you meditate on that a lot, and you really get how beings have, as a mother, have been taking care of you in this life. And when you travel, you see, when you go in, I don't know, poor countries or third world country, I don't know how you call it in English. You see the mom, they go to work and they have their babies on their back, going to work in the fields and making a bread to give the milk to the baby and then putting back on the back and continue to work, and they have this radiant smile of bliss of having this baby. They're so happy to have a baby. And you imagine you have been that baby being taken care by that mom, So to use example of what you see around you, because we don't recollect our mom very much, we don't recollect our birth and our first years, but to look in the life of other people around you and look how their babies are treated, and you imagine yourself being that baby being treated like that, no? But once you realize how precious that relation is between the mom and the baby, and how much she's sacrificed for the baby, before and after birth, and how, so much of what we have become is due to the kindness of our mother. Once you have that experience and you cultivate it, so the training then is whoever you meet, this has been my precious mother. Right? So you go to a shop and you think that shopkeeper has been my precious mother. One of my favorite meditation is to think that Trump has been my mother. Well, it completely changed the way I look at him, honestly. So if I think of so that's why the Tibetan, they say all sentient beings, all mother sentient being, right? All beings have been my mother. Because if you look at beings from that perspective of they having been your mother, suddenly you cannot but have love for them, even though at this present moment they're outrageous, due to their karma, they're outrageous being, no relationship. But yet deep down at some point, they're having this precious being to you, right? So if you go, you make abstraction of the superficial being, but you go deep down, say, oh, that being has been my mother. Right? So suddenly your relationship with them completely changes. Suddenly instead of being a Mr. Nobody or Mrs. Nobody that you don't know, suddenly they become somebody you can relate to from your heart, because that being you imagine having been your dear mother. So it's a very powerful meditation if one can, stretch one's mind to think like that. So not everybody can do it, but if one can if one can go along with it, you see, there's two difficulty. One is to actually believe that there's beginningless lives and endless life. The other difficult stretch is all beings have been my mother. Come on, it needs to stretch one's mind, like that. But if one can, you see, myself, I see the benefits. For me, it's a means to an end. I don't care whether the means is completely valid. I cannot see, I don't have clairvoyance, I cannot see. I just go along with it and I see the benefit of thinking along this way, and that's good enough for me, Yeah, thank you. Next one. What's the topic in the group?
Extending that contemplation to all sentient beings, how many, many sentient beings have been kind to us and wishing to repay their kindness.
Okay.
Yeah,
A little bit louder, please.
it's the one thing I'm not good at. Well, it's one of the things I'm not good at. So begin by, on the basis of the previous contemplation, trying to remember, recollect what it feels like subjectively to be cared for, to be protected. So try to generate in your mind that experience. And then try to expand that experience by recognizing that it isn't only in this life, and it isn't only in beginningless past lives that we've been benefited by the mother. We have in this life and over beginningless past lives been benefited by countless, uncountable sentient beings. There are many sentient beings who educated us in various ways. Those who protected us as doctors, nurses, those who are responsible for clean water that we have to drink, nutritious food, those who have made the clothes that we wear, the home we live in. So think of those countless sentient beings responsible. Try to think of oneself as the recipient of this incredibly vast, interconnected web of kindness. It impacts every moment. And then on the basis of that, I think that now is the time to repay that kindness. I have met the genuine Buddha-Dharma. I have all of the necessary inner and outer conditions to develop my mind, to truly become someone capable of benefiting sentient beings. So I must. must take advantage of that opportunity and develop my mind and be able to lead sentient beings out of suffering, out of confusion. Try to generate that strong resolve in your mind, that strong determination, and rest your mind single pointedly in that determination.
Thank you, Nandrup. It was excellent. There's just one aspect one could add, is that yes, one wants to benefit other ultimately, therefore one wants to become Buddha for their sake, but also on the way, one tries to help them in whatever way one can, while, if one can help a beggar, or can help, somebody that is sad, or somebody that, would enjoy a meal or our company or some. So try to help people the way we can, while, in our small way, on the way. Otherwise, it's excellent. Yeah. Thank you. So far, each meditator has led us to the right state of mind. So that's good. Excellent. Equality of self and other. Mary on the microphone.
Testing. Good?
Yeah, we can hear you. Yeah.
Thank you. Equalizing self with others. Me, myself, and I. Me, myself, and I takes up so much space in our minds. It is of great importance. It's our focus. The things we need to do, the things we need to buy, to eat, what we want to accomplish, contribute, whether it's how to get fit, battle back aging, sickness, and death. Not to mention our wish to be loved, looked upon favorably, and be happy. This takes up so much space, so much focus in our mind. But what about others? Yes, the billions of other beings who also want to be heard, seen, want to be safe, secure, fed, comfortable, who don't want to experience sickness, grow old, or die. Those others who don't want to experience war, natural disasters, drought, or being overlooked. not to mention others' wish to be loved, looked upon favorably, and be happy. Those, by that sheer number of beings, billions of beings, want happiness, no hardship or suffering. I'm only one being, yet there's billions. Due to the self-cherishing me mind, the billions of beings' happiness holds much less weight in my mind, less importance, as if they don't matter as much. The self-cherishing mind blocks my mind and heart from moving. The self-cherishing mind prioritizes ourselves, me, over others. Shouldn't we be more concerned about the happiness of others than just one being, ourselves? The billions of beings versus me, I'm the only one. Yet we are the same. We're lost, belittled with a mind weighed down by depression, fear, anxiety, uncertainty, desperately searching for a quick fix, perhaps a lasting path. We are all imprisoned by our uncontrolled mind, our actions, delusions, speech, over and over on the circus wheel. We are all the same in wanting happiness and not wanting suffering. Think about that. We are all the same in wanting happiness and not wanting suffering. And as we close with this verse from Shantideva, although wishing to be rid of misery, we run towards misery itself. Although wishing to have happiness, like an enemy, we ignorantly destroy it. I, and all other sentient beings are exactly the same in this. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. It's interesting nowadays. When you think about equanimity or equality of self and others, you see, when one wants to invade a country, one undermines their humanity, you know, or let's say they are less human than us, they are less the right to be happy than us, you know. So I think with in all the conflicts, the first things that person that wants to do to invade the other countries to undermine their right to be happy or their humanity on the others. And let's say, you know, when we exploit a type of people, you know, whether through slavery or other forms of exploitation. So if you look at the mind there, is that we, you know, have the right to be happy, but they have less right to be happy, you know. So we put them down, you know, to our thinking, and then so, for example, also with animals, right? So the animals, they are sentient beings, they want to be happy like us. But when we make animal factories and things like that, where we don't take care of their well-being at all, right? So there again, you see, they are not equal to us in their wish to be happy. From their side, they wish to be happy like ourselves, but we don't give them that right. So we don't see them as equal in having the right to be happy like me. So actually, if you really go into it, you know, wishing all, you know, to realize that all beings are like me, wishing to be happy and have the same right as me to be happy, actually it's quite an advanced state of mind that we don't have in everyday life, you know. So it's actually, when you look at society, when you look at the news, you realize that they don't think that all beings as equal in their right to be happy. So it's actually a far out state of mind compared to the ordinary state of mind. So I like that meditation very much. It's very, yeah, very good. Next one. Oh yes, oh yeah, let's take a break. Okay, let's have a break. How long shall we have a break? 15 minutes? Okay, 15 minutes break. Sorry. So, so far we have covered equanimity, and then all beings as our mothers, the remembering the kindness of one's mother and beings in general. And then we have meditate on the wish to repay the kindness. And then we have meditate on the equality of self and other, that we're all same wishing to be happiness. And now the next topic is the drawback of self-cherishing, and Yogini Erin will lead us in that meditation.
Thank you. So,
Louder, please.
all right. The faults of self-cherishing. So most suffering is caused due to self-cherishing. Let's work with the idea of self-cherishing. Often it's not that we have the intention to harm, but we are focused so strongly on achieving what we want that we may lose track of the effects that our actions have on others. We may begin to think that attaining the momentary sense pleasures of this life is a main goal. In this way, we could begin, in a way, to emotionally and mentally isolate ourselves from others. Take the example of stealing, taking that which is not freely given. If we are strongly in our self-focused mind, we will only see what we want and try to get it, regardless of how it affects others. Can you think of a time recently where you were a cause of someone's suffering? See if there is some aspect of self-centeredness that may have been underlying your actions. Overly concerned about me and what I want. If we continue on our life's journey, focusing primarily on ourselves, cherishing only ourselves, can we see any other drawbacks? When we are overly self-concerned with our own temporary happiness, we may act in many ways with our body, speech, and mind that harm others. We may create much negative karma and many obstacles on our path for ourselves, which will keep us from being of benefit to others, increasing not only our own suffering, but the suffering in the world. Thank you.
So yes, the conclusion is, you see, all our negative actions, the 10 non-virtues, basically they are done out of self-centeredness. Myself, I'm more important than others. And then because of that mind also, it prevents us to enter the bodhisattva path and enter the path to enlightenment. So because entering the path to enlightenment requires ourselves to care for all living beings. And without such a mind, we cannot enter the path to enlightenment. Next.
Benefits of cherishing others. Cherishing others is the foundation of all living lives. According to Lama Zopa Rinpoche, abandoning self-cherishing and cherishing others is the bodhisattva method. Cherishing others is the cause of all happiness. Therefore, today, I will be my best possible self for the benefit of all. I will use my body, speech, and mind in virtue. Today, I will generate this precious thought of bodhicitta, the ultimate good heart. For when we cherish others, we are happy. And this gives us energy and inspires us to go the distance, to generate altruism, even for those you dislike. And perhaps that's the hardest part. How do we cherish those when we dislike them? My husband, who I love dearly, in the beginning of my practice, Mary Colony's Harry told me if I could not see my husband or treat my husband the same way I thought about Lama Zopa Rinpoche, I had missed the entire point of the path. So it changed my whole view of my relationship. I really had to develop patience. And it's turned out to be the best practice ever. Because cherishing others generates kindness. And it motivates us to develop skillful means and joyful perseverance. And this is the cause of enlightenment. So the benefits are great. It reminds us to rejoice in this precious human rebirth, to reflect on the suffering of all sentient beings. And since this is a huge part of my practice, Lama Zopa Rinpoche had given me, when I first met him, he asked me to just do Mani mantras every day. So this is part of what I do every day. And I've thought about what each realm being really, really needs and how I can give that to them and how I can develop these means so that I can help benefit all beings to come out of that suffering state, to be able to grant them access, not just to the teachings, but to what each and every being needs: housing, food, volunteering at the food shelter, healthcare, education, all the things that we need, mental health. Cherishing others is the ability to listen deeply and profoundly, appreciatively to others, to help them build community and ourselves to build community with others and to create harmony. And that comes through deeply listening to the teachings, to each other. Cherishing others gives us a view on how to share our own powers and our privileges. I think about Marilyn Monroe and what she did for Ella Fitzgerald, and it's beautiful. Ella Fitzgerald, if you don't know her, she was a famous Black jazz singer during the days when they were not allowed to sing in clubs, and Marilyn Monroe went to the club owner and said, you bring Ella on stage, I'll come every night, you have her here, and you can publicize that, you're gonna fill the house. And so he did, and the people came. And from that moment on, Ella Fitzgerald was always singing in clubs and was no longer outcast because she was Black and a woman. And she said that Marilyn was very kind, ahead of her time. And when we cherish others, it grows our generosity and our patience to remember the truth, how all things exist, to create appreciative policies that not only benefit others, but do no harm. And to do my best to communicate across cultures with an open heart and an open mind. General Rene shared a Trump story. I have a Trump story. I was at Mar-a-Lago and there was Trump eating dinner. And it was when he was running for president. And I thought, oh my gosh, okay, I have an opportunity here to exchange myself for others. So I was sitting there at dinner with my family, and I just, in my mind, no one knew I was doing it. I imagined the Golden Light Sutra on the table, because they say, you bring that if there's a place of conflict. And then I did all these various practices I do. I generated the entire path, and I generated myself as the best I could into my enlightened being state. And I went and I put myself where he was leaving the restaurant with the intention to shake his hand, tashi dele, for the benefit of all beings. And he looked at his people, he says, it's okay? And he said, it's okay. And I shook President Trump's hand, and I thought to myself, I'm saying goodbye, and I'm walking this way, I'm going to walk a new way. I'm saying goodbye to the greed and giving him everything I could. And when you cherish others to benefit, you remember to benefit transmigratory beings, to think about the Bardo realm, to serve the Buddha, to protect the Dharma, to assist the Sangha. And the ultimate benefit of cherishing others is to create positive potential, merit, and a meaningful life. Chuduwa Belwa Sho Sancho Chencho Rinpoche Make Pake Kekuchi Belwa Sho Omahom Omahom.
Okay, thank you, Julie. Very good. So when one leads meditation, you see, the challenge is to try, especially when one has a short amount of time, one should try to stick really to the essence of the topic as much as possible. Yeah. So normally, the advantage of cherishing other, you see, if you have a good heart and you live for other, you make people happy around you. Right? So everybody likes somebody that has a good heart, that is helpful, that is kind. So if you live like that, then everybody likes you and everybody is kind to you back, because you're just a nice guy. So people are nice to you, it awakens the same quality in others. And then the second point is because you have this attitude and you don't create any of the 10 non-virtuous action, you just create the 10 virtue and thereby create the cause of happiness for yourself in this and future life. And then it's the basis for entering the Mahayana path and to get all the realization up to enlightenment. So all the happiness for this life, future life, and all future life comes from cherishing others. Thank you. Next. Louder, I cannot hear.
Exchanging
Okay.
self for others and giving and taking. Tonglen.
Okay. Thank you. Go ahead.
All right. All human beings want to be happy and live free from suffering. In this way, all of us are exactly alike. To aid in this, we nurture the mind that cares only about alleviating the suffering while we renounce ourselves. Let's begin. If it's comfortable for you, lower your gaze or close your eyes. Bring to mind an image of someone who is suffering. Sit with this being you are calling to mind for a moment and feel their pain. Put yourself in their shoes and feel that their body and their mind are your own. Experience that whatever has happened to them is also happening to you. This is the process of equalizing others with ourselves. Think, having recognized the futility of my selfishness, as well as the great benefit of loving others, may I bring all beings to joy. May I send all my virtues and happiness to others through the strength of my practice. And may I receive the suffering, obstacles, and defilements of all motherly beings in all realms. Take a deep breath, breathing in all their fear, pain, agitation, anger, or resistance, and accept it with love and compassion. On the exhalation, breathe out well-being for them. It might help to imagine that on your in-breath, you're inhaling heavy, hot air. On your out-breath, visualize exhaling cool, clean air and light. Continue with this pattern for a few moments, breathing in heaviness and breathing out lightness and light until it is familiar to you. The heaviness is suffering. The lightness is well-being. Now let's go a little deeper. Imagine that you are breathing through all the pores of your body. On the in-breath, heavy, hot, polluted air enters every pore. On the out-breath, cool, clean air and light flow from every pore. Now visualize a metal casing around your heart. This metal casing is everything about you that is difficult for you to accept. Your self-importance, selfishness, self-cherishing, self-pity. It is the band of fear that hardens your heart. The practice involves you to dissolve this metal casing and open your heart to its natural, non-judgmental state of warmth, kindness, and spaciousness. You can do this by visualizing the metal casing breaking apart when the in-breath of suffering touches it. When the heart opens, the hot, heavy air vanishes into its vast space. What arises is natural mercy. It is this quality of the unarmored heart that allows you to be with suffering and at the same time see beneath the suffering. The reason you are doing this practice is that you are suffering, others are suffering, and you wish with all your heart that all beings could be free from suffering. This wish needs to be specific, personal, and sincere. Let's do one more. If this being is very dear to you, you can stay with the same being you started with, or bring to mind another being, dead or alive, with whom you feel a deep connection. A parent, a relative, a pet, your dearest friend, someone who is suffering. You would do anything to help this one. Be with this one and feel what they are experiencing. Let your whole being then turn toward their suffering and your wish that it might be relieved. See how vulnerable they are. Like a mother who will do anything to help her child, you will do anything to help your loved one. Visualize the suffering of this being is polluted, hot smoke, and breathe it in through your whole body. The instant that the in-breath of suffering touches the metal casing of self-centeredness around your heart, the casing breaks apart and your heart opens to the suffering. The hot smoke instantly vanishes into the great space of your heart. And from this space spontaneously arises an out-breath of mercy and healing. Send a deep, cool, and spacious healing breath to this being. Let the out-breath flow through every pore of your body. Let this one suffering remind you of the many others who find themselves suffering. Let your heart break open. Send them healing with your out-breath. Continue with this practice for another minute and then open your eyes when you're ready.
Thank you. Very good. There is one point that you didn't emphasize very much And it comes a little bit by my fault because the way I cut the sessions. So if you look the evolution, first you equalize yourself with other, then you meditate on the drawback of self-cherishing, the advantage of cherishing other, and then comes this conclusion. Okay, so there's no benefit in cherishing out myself. There's all this benefit of cherishing other. Therefore, now I live for other. So other become me and I become them. So the whole energy, instead of being focused on me, all my energy will be focused on them. So this is the conclusion of these two previous points. The purpose of my life is to live for other. And how do I live for other? Is with the practice of, you enhance that with the practice of giving and taking, right? And then at the beginning, you don't put it on the movement of the breath. First, you can choose either to start with giving or start with taking. You know, you can,
Okay,
you can either start with meditating on love or start with meditating on compassion. Both order are explained in the teaching. And Lama Tsongkhapa says there's no advantage in doing one before the other. So then you meditate on, let's say, love for all living beings, right? So you send love to all living beings, and that love transform it whatever they need. Worldly, food, drink, friends, teacher, all the ordinary things that people need in the world, and then the whole path to enlightenment you give them. And then when you focus on compassion, you take away from them all that troubles them physically, mentally, spiritually, right? And as you described, yes, so His Holiness says you can visualize yourself cherishing mind in your heart, and you imagine that fog or that darkness that comes from the suffering from other, destroy the cage of your self-cherishing in your heart. Right? So at the beginning, you do these two meditation separate from the breath. So you spend, let's say, 2-3 minutes on giving, on love, 2-3 minutes on compassion. And only once you know these two states of mind very well, only then you put them on the breath. Because if you put them on the breath too quickly, you cannot really be in a state of love and in a state of compassion. It goes too fast, and you're not familiarized with these two states of mind powerfully enough to be able to change every 30 seconds from one to the other. So first you have to really know each state of mind well by doing them separate from the breath, and then you put them on the breath. Otherwise, very good. Thank you. Next.
So I have the last two topics, universal responsibility and bodhicitta.
Who's that?
Myself. Sorry, I'm trying to gather my courage together. So we're just beautifully led by Charlotte on giving and taking. And we, to our best ability, induce those beautiful states of mind and openness of heart, which are love and compassion. But let us for a moment bring to our mind now, rather than generally thinking about sentient beings, somebody who is extremely precious to us. So it could be our mother. We have talked about mother's kindness before and how it is immeasurable. So you can think about your mom. If that doesn't work, or you prefer to think about somebody else who you feel is more kind, more precious to you, maybe your child, maybe your partner. Do that. And now imagine them standing on the edge of the highway and just about to make a step and being hit by a truck. Or standing on the shore and watching them drown in front of you. Or maybe being in a fire and escaping it and realizing that they are left behind. Would you in that moment be praying? Would you be visualizing light? Would you look left and right to see who is going to help them? I don't think so. I think the most natural thing for us would be to jump in the water, to run towards them, to save them from not walking onto that highway, to turn back and run into the fire, even if it would be risking our lives. Because we know that they are our loved ones, they are our responsibility, and we would do anything we can to help them. And it's not even that surprising to us. It seems like the most natural thing to do. Each and single one of us would do it for our loved ones. But if you think about all sentient beings in the realms of samsara, and the topics that we have talked about up until now, then you realize that from their own side, they are exactly like our mother of this life, like our child of this life, like our partner of this life, in that each and single one of them equally only wants happiness and never wants any suffering. And also from our own side, our mother, child, and partner happens to be that loved one of our life, of our current life. But through our lifetimes, each and single sentient being has been our mother, our partner, and our child. So if we think it's natural to rescue our loved ones from danger, then it would only be natural to extend our aspiration to help to all sentient beings. It seems very logical. So thinking about it this way, think I am going to end the suffering of each and single sentient being in samsara. Because each and single sentient being in samsara has been my mother, has been my child, and has been my partner. And I will bring them to happiness, not only temporary happiness, but the ultimate happiness of enlightenment. This is just an outrageous thought, but try to stay with it for a moment. Try to keep that vast, amazing aspiration in your mind for a few seconds. Isn't that like the most vast, amazing aspiration there is? I'm sorry, Venerable, you wanted to say something. Sorry, I started speaking at the same time.
Go ahead.
There's nothing more worthwhile to live for. There's nothing more worthwhile to breathe for and to do anything for than that. As outrageous as it may sound. So it's really a wonderful thought to adopt. I live to benefit all sentient beings. I live to lead each and single one of them to temporary and ultimate happiness. But then the thought must creep in, is this realistic? Am I really able to do that? So far, through endless lifetimes, I have not been able to even bring one person, myself, the mind that I'm in charge of, to the end of suffering and to the ultimate enlightenment. So in my previous state, it's as if I'm a blind person trying to lead other blind people to a destination. So for a moment here, we are going to imagine how it would be if we were a Buddha. So rather than having our little narrow, little limited way of loving others, we would have this vast, unbelievable heart, which is able to love each and every sentient beings 100 times more than a mother loves her only child. That's how our love would be to every single sentient being. If we were a Buddha, we wouldn't have this one achy, limited body that gets tired, that sometimes does things that we don't want it to do or doesn't manifest to people like we would like it to. We would be able to manifest countless bodies, which would be always exactly what every single sentient being needs to make progress. So it would always be pleasing to them to look at. Our speech would sound like a most beautiful music, most beautiful melody to the ears of every single sentient being, and they would be able to understand us clearly and in their own language. And most of all, Buddha's mind is omniscient. Buddha knows the past, present, and future of every single sentient being perfectly. I've heard somebody say that Lama Zopa once said to them that he can see the future of every single person who stands in front of him like he was watching a TV, totally clearly. So if we are able to have this kind of mind, then, and only then really, we would be able to fulfill this aspiration to lead all sentient beings to enlightenment. And since that's the aspiration that we wish to live for, then becoming a Buddha is the means to fulfill that aspiration. So from this moment on, may every word we utter, every action we do, every thought that we have, and every moment never be wasted. may it only be of benefit to others. And may it be a step in the direction of us becoming enlightened, so that we can fulfill our responsibility to lead each and every sentient beings to enlightenment as well.
So that was quite good. Thank you, Nina. So bodhicitta is this aspiration to become Buddha for the sake of all sentient beings. So this aspiration to become Buddha is a primordial mind. It's the heart, it's the aspiration to become Buddha. And the peripheral thought is out of love and compassion for others. So the main thing is not wanting to help others. The main thing is wanting to become Buddha. And the reason why becoming Buddha is out of love and compassion for others. And then how do you become Buddha? By training in the sixth perfection. So bodhicitta is a very special state of mind that you get at by going through the six cause one effect, exchange self other, or the combination of both. So it's a very rich and it's rich in a sense, it's heavily loaded with many insights that lead you to that state of mind. So if you just say in everyday life, may I become Buddha for the sake of all living beings, like when we decide the prayer, when we say that prayer is mere words often. You see, it's just an aspiration, a level of words. You don't really, it doesn't have the richness of it as when you go through the meditation of actually inducing that state of mind. So it's a completely different experience, just saying the word or actually living it. So a bodhisattva goes to the stage of practitioner, goes to the stage of this meditation, and then goes to this state of mind of bodhicitta, and then he develops calm abiding on that state of mind. So for us, we can remain, a few seconds or a few minutes on that state of mind, even with having other thought that, unwanted thought that travels to our mind. So it's very difficult for us to remain in that state of mind of bodhicitta very long. So imagine if you had concentration, and you could stay effortlessly in that state of mind. So a bodhisattva is in that state of mind all the time. And we need effort to get there. We need effort to remain there. But the bodhisattva is there spontaneously, effortlessly, even while asleep, even in everyday life, even distracted. The only moment that mind is not there is when it's focused on emptiness. And it's the most highest, the most precious state of mind that a human being can experience. And it's the entry door to the Bodhisattva path. There's no other way to enter the path to enlightenment but to generate that state of mind. And there's nothing more worthwhile to dedicate one's life to but to generate that mind. It's more precious than Tantra because Tantra doesn't work without having that state of mind. So many teachers says, you see, if there's one practice, it should be the practice of bodhicitta. If there's one realization you should achieve in this life, it is bodhicitta. And bodhicitta is the greatest purification. There's no practice more powerful to purify your mind than to generate bodhicitta. There's no other practice that is more powerful to generate merit than to get bodhicitta. There's no more powerful method to avert obstacle than to generate bodhicitta. There's no quicker path to enlightenment than to generate bodhicitta. Okay, thank you very much. So I think we have had the fortune to meet bodhisattvas that actually have bodhicitta, like His Holiness Dalai Lama, Lama Yeshe, Lama Zopa Rinpoche, and many other great saints and yogis. And we know how it feels to be in the presence of beings like that. So we not only did we hear the theory about it, the explanation, but we had the living example of beings being like that. And we see how life transforming it is to be in the presence of being like that. So I think we are very fortunate because that, convince us even more of the beauty of that state of mind. And we all have the potential to become bodhisattva, to have that state of mind. It's just a matter of priority. You see, there are so much things to do in life, and there's so many spiritual practice. And we always hear that bodhicitta is the core, is the heart, but somehow we get sidetracked, in many other practices. So it's good to be reminded again and again to read, there's the 108th verse about bodhicitta, and then there's many thought trainings about bodhicitta, or verses of hymns or praise about bodhicitta. So it's good to read these kind of things to remind us, and to read a few verses from time to time and reflect on their meaning. So I think, and the whole Lamrim, see, the whole Lamrim is, the summum of the Lamrim is that realization of bodhicitta. Right? The whole structure of the Lamrim is there for you to generate bodhicitta. You see, in the middle scopes, it even bypasses emptiness. It just induces you to generate the mind aspiring to liberation, but it doesn't show you how to attain liberation. Instead, it shows you how to generate bodhicitta. And then emptiness, the ultimate nature of reality, is taught in the context of bodhicitta, right? So the whole Lamrim, the summum, like a Christmas tree, you have the star on top. On the Lamrim, the star on top is bodhicitta. That's the heart, the essence, the goal, that realization. So if there's one realization, if one could achieve in this life, may it be bodhicitta. That's the most precious state of mind one can generate in this life. Okay, so you have some questions?
Any questions on Zoom? Janice?
So as you said, I don't know, can you hear me?
Not well.
Well, we have a couple of questions that were written on the Zoom chat. So why don't we go with those first? One question from Zoom is from Amy, and she is asking that when we were doing the visualization of Chenrezig Manjushri, that she says, as Chenrezig for me is associated with compassion, I was surprised that he is connected with the throat and not the heart. And she would like a comment on that.
It's a good question. I had that same question, and I never got an answer.
Okay. Amy, is that okay? And then Anil was asking if you will be explaining bodhicitta this afternoon, and I think you've done that pretty well. Shale wanted to know, Shale wants to understand what deities like Chenrezig and Manchuri are. Are they real people? How do they answer our questions in meditation? Like, how did Lama Tsongkhapa see in his meditation? Shale is confused by this.
Yes, many people are, myself included. So let's say from one perspective, the omniscient mind, the Buddha, manifests as different archetype, as different symbol to awaken certain quality in oneself. Right? So they are not sentient beings that reached enlightenment. They are archetype manifesting the 100, 1,000, the deities. They all manifest out of the omniscient mind. and out of our guru seen as omniscient manifests in all these different aspects, because each deity works on us in a, awaken certain quality in oneself. So that's one explanation. And the second explanation is that actually there were bodhisattvas on the past, that there was an Avalokiteshvara, there was a Manjushri, there was a Vajrapani, that there were bodhisattvas and they reached enlightenment, right? So this is two perspectives, right?
Okay, and the second question is, what is the Pure Land? Is it another planetary dimension? Shell thought, if one is a Pure Land and not a human, you can't get enlightened because you need to be on earth and human. Is the Pure Land a God realm and then you can't practice? It's just very confusing to share.
So if you speak about samsara, there's the sixth realm, and the God realms are subdivided into gods of the desire realm, and the god of the form realm, and the god of the formless realms. So I think the Pure Land are somewhere in the form realm where often they describe you have the different level. So there's different level of form realms, and then there's a city where the gods of the formless are, and then the retreat center, or apart from the main place where the gods live, then is the Pure Land. So that's one explanation I've heard. And another explanation basically is within the realm of form realms, but it's created by the mind of the Buddhas. They create this Pure Land with their mind, and they created also subtle wind energy from the subtle, wind energy, subtle matter. They can create the Pure Land with their mind, and then we, as which have the karma to be benefited by them. So certain Pure Land, you have to have a realization of bodhicitta to be able to qualify to go to that Pure Land. Other Pure Land, you must have a certain level of realization of emptiness and bodhicitta to have access. Another Pure Land, you just need to have a good heart, like Atisha Pure Land, like Amitabha Pure Land. You mainly have to have a good heart, being a good human being, and never make lots of prayer to be born in Amitabha Pure Land. So is a Pure Land you don't need a lot of requirement to get there, right? So, but other Pure Lands, you need more. There's more required. The quality of your mind must be attuned with the quality of that Pure Land in order to be born there. But the Pure Lands in general are manifestation of that Buddha. So each Buddha has Pure Land, right? And then if you have the karma to be born there when you die, then you born in that Pure Land, right?
Tara has a question. I often feel a strong sense of urgency to make my life meaningful by doing what I can to be a benefit to others. However, I often feel that even with the best intention, my level of wisdom doesn't quite match up to my wanting to help. Sometimes I may even make a situation worse. When we aren't at a level where we can truly see what is beneficial for another being, how do we avoid unintentionally harming them or ourselves by offering that may not be of the most benefit to them in their particular situation?
Yes, I think we all face this dilemma from time to time, right? We mean well, but our help is actually not helping them, is making things worse, or we bother them without wanting to help them. So we lack the wisdom to see what's appropriate to the given situation. So that's why, in general, one advises, that should motivate us even more to become Buddha, right? Because then we really qualify to help. At our present level, the amount of help we can do, help is very limited. So we try our best, and sometimes it helps, sometimes it doesn't. But that's where we are at. It doesn't mean that one should give up helping other, but one has to realize that it is limited, and maybe we should spend more time trying to become Buddha first, instead of becoming, too much. I don't know, spend all our energy trying to help others. Maybe better to spend more energy trying to become Buddha.
And Anil has a question. Would you like to unmute?
So can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So I was listening to the various meditations, and then you said, our aspiration is to become a Buddha. But and so we say we like to reduce suffering of other people. But what I find is that, for example, when I'm tired, regardless of what the other person is doing, I will be causing suffering because I will be snappish or short with the person. Rather, whoever. So the person hasn't changed. I have changed. And so the reality is that I am very susceptible to causing harm despite aspirations not to.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty much what I was trying to come in.
Yes, it's
Where would
true.
that
It's true.
fit in?
It's true. I mean, we have to accept that we are limited being, and that at our level we try our best, but sometimes we are sick, sometimes we are tired, sometimes we are in the face of facing our own mental affliction. So we are not in the space of mind actually to be helpful for other. And while one is angry and somebody asks us something, there's more likelihood that we snap than being kind, because we are under the control of that mental affliction at that moment. Right? So that's just, we have to humbly accept our limited state, and work on reducing one's mental affliction and developing the beautiful quality in one's mind. That's where we are at. But we have this beautiful method to reduce one's mental affliction and develop our patience, love, compassion. So we should train in that, and yes, we cannot really help effectively others as long as our mental affliction are so strong. That's the reality, you're right.
Would there be a particular meditation that might help address that situation, perhaps?
Well, you see, all the meditation we did help to counteract that, right? So, I mean, the best antidote for everything, for all the mental affliction, is meditation on emptiness of inherent existence, or how things are dependent arising, how everything is mainly labeled by the mind. So that's what cuts through all the fogs of the mental affliction, of all the murkiness. That's the ultimate solution. But it's very difficult to work, as long as one doesn't have that the valid mental image of emptiness. And during this weekend, we didn't have the time to go very deeply into that. It needs a lot of different meditation to to induce that state of mind. But once one has that, that is considered the best antidote to our mental affliction. And then on the other side is to meditate on love, compassion, like the 11-point meditation we did. So that also counteracts our selfishness and the delusion that arise based on that. So there's many methods, but the method that you should practice is the method that works for you. So, you know, if you have some spiritual teacher, you have received some teaching. So within that, the method that works for you, that's the best for you, right? So it's like, you know, you have this Swiss Army knife, and when you travel, you go to some countries, you know, and you see this beautiful sculpture, you know, and he only has one knife, one roasted old knife. And with that, you know, rusty old knife, he's able to do this incredible sculpture. And then my brother was an apprenticeship. He wanted to become a sculptor, you know. So, and he had hundreds of different tools, you know, small, medium, great, you know, all the numbers of tools, you know. And the sculpture he made, well, you know, I'm sorry. So to say, you see, you can have all these spiritual tools, all these different meditation methods, but because you're not, how to say, familiarized or deeply acquainted with any one of them, your meditation doesn't progress. And you have another one that only meditates on love and compassion all the time, right? But he does that all the time, all the time, all the time. And that meditation becomes effective to so many of his problems because he has completely mastered that meditation, right? So I think each one of us, we are, yeah, depending on our psychological makeup, we are more attracted with one meditation or the other. But so the point is, at some point, one has really to master one meditation, and then all the other qualities come from that. And usually they say, if you develop bodhicitta, if you only meditate on bodhicitta, all the other enlightenment qualities come by the way without any effort, you know.
Thank you.
Yes, sorry, I wasn't able to be more specific.
No, thank you. That was very helpful. Thank you.
Any questions here?
This is Phyllis, and I had a question about when you're teaching and you take these pauses that are really helpful, but I'm wondering where you go.
You know, the silence of the mind is so beautiful. Just to rest in the silence of the mind. And then somehow in the silence, the next things come out, you know? So you don't need necessarily to always think of what you're gonna say. You know, have you prepared your notebook and you know, I remember the first years I used to give courses. I'd spend, you know, I had my first assignment by Lama Zopa Rinpoche. I was monk, I think 3 days. And then Zia came into my room and said, Rinpoche has a message for you. It comes for you highly beneficial to become resident teacher in New Delhi, Tushita Center. I was monk 3 days, you know. So, and I was teaching, I think, 6 evenings a week. 1 hour to 1 hour and a half, not very long, But I spent maybe 6, 7 hours prepare for the 1 hour talk in the evening, right? So all these notes and all the, like that, for this 1 hour. So after a few months, I was completely exhausted, lunged out, stressed, and, exhausted, So, yeah, so that's how I started. And then I realized it doesn't work like that, at least for my mind, it doesn't work. Yeah. So as you teach more and more, or you lead more and more meditation, so you become, how to say, at the beginning you're scared and you blush and you get anxious, to speak in public and things like that. So I was completely like that, at the beginning. I was quite shy and never spoke in public before, so it was difficult, to start. But Rinpoche pushed me and he said, we're going to be highly beneficial. There were 4 or 5 students, sometimes 10 maximum, so highly beneficial. He was very kind, but anyway. So I think you see, as you over the years, you become more, how to say, more settled, more, yeah. Yeah, it just happens over the year, and like that. But at the beginning, I was a complete mess. When I start teaching, it was very hard. And then gradually things change.
So a follow-up on that is about inspired. That what's to be said comes. I don't know what inspired means. I haven't heard you use this word, inspired. Like all of a sudden, words come out of your. Like you said, I don't think about what I'm going to say. I go to silence, and then I answer. Then I go ahead and talk. Inspiration, inspired. That's I'm asking.
You see, I think at certain level, there's different way of saying that thing. Where do that things come from? You could say that's how Buddhas help sentient beings, right? So they help through ordinary beings, through ordinary teacher. So what I say, way I say it, or the way things come true, it doesn't come necessarily from me, So it's more like you're the space from which these things come through, right? And where does it come from? You can say it from the Buddha, you can say it from the Guru, you see, I don't know myself where it comes from, right? It's just, yeah. You get some blessing, and where does the blessing come from? Yeah, you can put different labels, but the reality is that I don't know. And I think most of you might have had this kind of experience in different contexts, in your own field or in your own thing, So I think as long as one's heart is in a good place, a good relationship with one's spiritual gurus, with the Buddhas, and one doesn't try to make a big ego trip, out of it. So if one gets a little bit out of the way as much as possible, then I think something can happen. And I think I'm nothing special in that sense. Each one of you could do exactly the same. It's just, I think it's the setup, how things, yeah.
Thank you. That's very affirming. Thank you.
Venerable, thank you for leading us through Lamrim, and I think maybe not the only one, very inspired to do Lamrim retreats. And my question is if you could give us some advice on how to go about it within a session. So you said to have many texts, and I'm just wondering, do we just read the text? Do we memorize the outlines? Do we take notes? How do we do that really in practice? And secondly, if you could talk a little bit, I know you said there's not time to go through all the points of how to recognize that you have a realization, but like, how long does it take, for example, because it sometimes may be daunting to many people, like, is it even worth it? I'm never gonna get there and things like this. How to think about it? Is it like lifetimes to get a realization of, let's say, impermanence, or is it, matter of months, years, things like that?
So there's that book from Pabanka Rinpoche, Liberation in the Palm of Your Hand. And there in the appendix, he speaks a little bit about that. So he says the realization of precious human rebirth takes about 2 weeks. But he didn't say how many sessions a day. No. And he says the realization that death is definite 1 week. The realization that at the time of death, nothing but the Dharma will help 1 week. The realization that the moment of death can happen anytime, he says this takes longer, maybe 3 weeks or a month. Right? Suffering of lower realms, I think 1 week. Refuge, a few weeks. Right? So like that. So it's not like eternally, right? But the problem is, you see, he didn't say how many sessions a day. He didn't say how actually, he went about it. But my guess is that usually you do 4 sessions a day, in the context of doing 4 sessions a day. So maybe 1 session something else, and then 2, 3 sessions on the topic. And also, once you get the realization of the precious human rebirth, so you have that state of mind, wow, this life is like, wow, I actually I won the lottery, I just got $100,000. Wow, I'm so fortunate. So that's the state of mind. Wow, you go to that. Wow, I shouldn't waste any moment. It's so precious. All what I can do with this life. It's a really very special state of mind. But you have to keep it. You see, if you stop meditating on it, it starts degenerating. Right? So you have to every day to go back to this wow. So at the beginning, you need a lot. You see, how to say? So first you have what's called the effortful realization of that point to Lamrim, right? So you have to go through all the points to get to that wow. But then once you have it, you repeat it again and again, and then you can take shortcuts, right? Or you write down the thing that strike you. You make your own Lamrim text about the points that you thread that lead you to that wow, right? And then you reach a point that maybe thinking precious human rebirth, wow, you're there. And so that's the effortless realization of that point to Lamrim. So you start with the effortful, and then the quicker till you get to that effortless. But even then, you need to keep it alive. So you still have to spend a few minutes every day to keep that wow there, to not let it degenerate. So a Lamrimpa has to, it's a lifetime, like Lama Zopa Rinpoche, the retreat called living on the path or living in the path, or how did he call it? A light on the path. Yeah, so I think at the beginning he wanted to call it living on the path or living in the path, actually meaning that there are states of mind in which you live. You know, and you live in that state of mind, right? So living in the Lamrim is actually cultivating each of these realizations and then living within that. That's your life. You know, you live the life within those realizations, right? So whether you take a big Lamrim like Geshe Zopa's commentary on the Lamrim Chenmo, right, or the Lamrim Chenmo itself, or you know, some people just take one text and they just like that one and they work with that one. And you know, I'm Gemini, so Gemini is an air sign, so we like to take things a little bit more. You know, I think probably. One with horn, you know, that he would more just focus on one text and really go deeply in that. So I think there's room for all these different personalities, you know, how one goes about it. You know, I think I don't think one is better than the other. It's just what suits one's mind. But I think one mistake one makes, I think many people make, is that everybody got the wisdom that comes from hearing. You know, so the wisdom from hearing comes, you listen to the teachings, you know, on Lamrim, on all the points of the Lamrim, or you read about them in books. And because you think you have heard it many times and you have read it many times, you think you know it. That's our Western way of understanding something. You know, if you read it, you heard it, you know it, right? And sometimes we have heard it 10, 20, 30, 50 times. We have heard it so many times that we almost feel like vomiting about it. You know, we cannot hear it another time, or not again the tortoise that come to the surface. You know, we heard it so many times, we cannot handle another time. But why? But then you see old geshes, they are in their 80s, right? And they go to a teaching of His Holiness Dalai Lama, and the Dalai Lama speaks about the tortoise coming to the surface. Like they hear it for the first time, right? How come? Do they fake it just to make us, you know? They don't look like faking it. They look really sincere. So what's happening in their mind? You see, because they heard it also hundreds of times, right? And they probably even teach it 100 times. But how come that for them it's still new? Right? Because they don't have the wisdom that comes only from hearing. They also have the wisdom that comes from contemplating. So when you contemplate something, the example, everything becomes much richer because you have really dwelled into the detail of it, you have imagined it, you have looked from that perspective. So it brings about a state of mind. See, instead of just being a nice story that you look from outside, no, you have been that tortoise in the ocean, and that the ocean is the lower realm. And only every 100 years you go to the upper realm, you know, for a short in-breath. So that's the amount of time you spend in the upper realms. But most of your time you spend in the lower realms. And only very few lifetimes you have as a human or God. You know, most we are as animal or as spirit or in the hells. Right? So so you have that experience. You just have one breath and then you go back to lower realm, you know. And then there's that yolk floating at the surface, which is the Buddha's teachings. Right? And that Buddha's teaching is not always at the same place, so you could plan to go there. No, no, that yolk floats all over the place, you know. And then what chance, you go only up for a while to breathe, every 100 years, and that thing floats on the ocean. What chance you have? So what chance do we have to meet the Buddha's teachings? Is almost none. So myself, in this life, I think I spent hours on that tortoise, being that tortoise. And it has really an incredible, profound effect. It's not, it appears like a casual story, but the effect you have if you actually do the meditation, wow, you really how precious and unique and rare it is, and almost no chance to get it again. And then really it, how to say, it completely enhances your spiritual path, you don't want to waste time, you really want to take its essence. So that's the wisdom that comes from contemplation. And then you have the wisdom that comes from meditation, where actually you go to that state of wow, and then you develop single pointed concentration on that wow. I have this precious thing, wow. And then you use a little bit of thought to feed that wowness. Oh, it's wow because of that. It's wow because of that. Like that. And so that's the wisdom, the how to say, the realization that comes from meditation, right? So, and with each point of the Lamrim, it's like that. So it's very, how to say, it's a way of studying that we don't have in the West. That comes from hearing, contemplating, and meditating. I think in the West we have hearing and we have contemplation when you have to pass an exam. So there we have to, especially when when the exam is not answer A, B, C, and you have to choose between the three, but you actually have to write an essay about that topic. So there really you have the wisdom that comes from contemplation, because you have really to understand and write about it. So there you make that effort. So we have that in that. But the wisdom comes from meditation. Probably musicians would have that. So because they go to the wisdom of contemplation when they learn the melody, really, all the different style of playing that music and things like that. And then when they completely master it and they can put the partition aside and they become, they can improvise on that thing. So that would be the wisdom that comes from meditation, in that field. Yeah.
I have a question, Venerable. So you went into quite a bit of detail about doing, how to make progress and gain Lamrim realization, etc. In retreat and how to do it and so on. And so thank you for that. But for those of us who may not have the luxury or may not be in the right place in their lives to be able to do, Lamrim retreats, how would you suggest that we make progress?
So I think is based on one Guru Yoga, like Lama Tsongkhapa Guru Yoga, or any other prayer, that you familiarize with. It could be a Shakyamuni Buddha Guru Yoga, or Chenrezig Guru Yoga, or Lama Tsongkhapa Guru Yoga, or any one of these Guru Yoga. Based on that, then you pray to your Guru, like we did pray to Lama Tsongkhapa, and then you absorb him into your heart, and then you rest a little bit with your mind. You imagine your mind becoming one with your Guru's mind, and out of that inspiration, then you study. Right? So you do the Guru Yoga, you absorb the Guru in your heart, and you ask him to inspire you that what you read doesn't say just words, so that those words actually transform into experience. Right? And then on that base, you take one of the Lamrim books, and then you stay with one topic for a while, you know, a few days. So you read a page or 2 pages or half a page, and you think about it, right? And then whatever small insight you have, you stay with that insight. So you practice all three: the wisdom of hearing or reading, the wisdom of contemplating, where you really think about it, and the wisdom for meditation. So whatever insight, understanding you have, then you stay with it and you try to live it, you know, to rest, to stay with it, right? Like that. And then, you know, you read a few more lines, and again, something strikes you, and you think about it, and then you rest in it like that. No? And then basically you stay on a topic as long as you feel comfortable, as long as you feel, yeah, you feel comfortable, and then you move on. I don't think there's any rule, you know, how fast, how, yeah. I think it's very personal. Kind of like that. But I think if you do on the base of a Guru Yoga, receiving the blessing of the Guru, then the way you read, you know, if you do the Lama Tsongkhapa Guru Yoga, then when you read something, because he composed it, he wrote it, and you requested his blessing, you know, and you make your mind one with him, somehow it affects the way you understand. You know.
Sorry, I have one more question, I guess, with two parts. So, so if you're doing Lamrim retreats, then, and you mentioned a few days ago that you find the bath offering very special. Would you do the bath offering by itself in the short long of Tsongkhapa Guru Yoga? Would you do it as part of the Lama Chopa, or how would you do it?
So usually it's done in the context of the Lama Chopa, right? But if one would like to do it separate from the Lama Chopa because one doesn't want to do the Lama Chopa, then usually one does it before the prostration. So one invites the Guru, and then once invited, the first thing one does, one offers him the bath, right? So I found it such a powerful practice, you know. Imagine that you can offer a bath to His Holiness Dalai Lama or Lama Zopa Rinpoche, you know. So you offer him a bath, you make a nice bathhouse, then you wash him, you know, full water and all, you know, pure body, right? And then you dry his body, you know. So usually when you dry the body, so on enlightened beings, all the droplet of water comes here and at the two shoulder, right? So you rub, you know, you imagine drying his body, and then you put you rub his body with perfume. So again, you do it here on the chest, and then it spreads automatically to the whole body of enlightened beings. Right? And then you offer him a new set of clothes, right? So if he's a monk, you know, so in the God realms, the clothes, they come from above and they naturally cover the body and they stay 1 inch from the skin, right? So that clothes don't actually touch the body of enlightened beings, right? So you offer clothes, then you offer ornaments, right? So these tantric ornaments that you have seen, or the deities ornament, so you offer that, you know, to you dear beloved root guru, right? And then you offer a crown, you know, crown of the 5 Dani Buddha, you know, and then you offer the precious vase which contains all necessity for life, you know. So this visualization somehow is, I think it purifies a lot of negative karma we have created with our gurus, or it makes us very close to our guru. Right? So one can do this practice with only one's root guru, But one can do it with countless, with all our gurus, with all the Buddhas, all the deities. So in the Giorgio Lama Chopa, basically it's all the infinite Buddhas come into your swimming pool or in your bathing house. You know, myself, because Shankar comes from India, I once actually 4 or 5 times to Amritsar. And then they have this golden temple with this huge bathhouse. It's huge. You know, it's maybe, I don't know how many football stadium put together. You know, it's a huge bathhouse with steps going down. You know, and in the center there's a pastoral, you know, a bridge, and at the center there's a golden temple. Wow, at night it's magical, you know. You have all the light around reflected in the water, and then even the golden temple is reflecting the water. And they play this tabla and harmonium and flute. It's just so magical. It's such a beautiful. So I always remembered that image when I imagined the bathhouse. Yeah, in India, there's actually, if you go in the countryside, there's bathhouses quite all over the place. It was quite common in ancient India to have bathhouse. I think that's where people used to wash themselves, wash their clothes, or you know, things like that. So they have this huge, you know, much bigger than this room, and on all 4 sides you have these steps going down into the bathhouse. It's quite nice. Yeah.
And I'm sorry, one follow-up question. And then the other thing you mentioned again during retreat is that when you're doing Lamrim retreats, you soak yourself in the topic, and even during breaks, you use that perspective on everything that you're. But are you saying that you should only like? You mentioned something about not reading biographies necessarily, or because that's something I do when I'm feeling tired or when I'm, you know,
Yeah, when you need a break.
uninspired.
Yes, then it's okay. Then it's okay. But usually, you see, let's say you meditate on precious human rebirth, and then you see an insect, you say, oh, that one doesn't have a precious human rebirth. You see a bird, oh, he doesn't have a precious human rebirth. Or you have the guy that delivers you food or meal, oh, he doesn't have a precious, he has a human body, he has a human life, but not a precious human life. You know, so you relate everything, you know, and then impermanence and death. You see nature around you, everything is impermanent, and you know, and autumn, winter is like death, and then spring again is new life, right? So it's like one says, you know, Milarepa, that posture symbolized that all, how you say, also everything is spiritual advice to him, you know. So the whole life for him is the Lamrim, right? The whole life transforms into spiritual advice to him. Right? So in that sense, yeah.
I do caregiving as work, and I wash my clients, and I offer many things to my clients. Can I use that situation as
Definitely.
Thank you.
Then if you imagine them being His Holiness Dalai Lama or Lama Zopa Rinpoche, you know, or being Chenrezig, whoever, you know. Yes, exactly. Then it's the same merit as doing that to them, you know, to the Buddhas. Yeah. Yes, excellent. That's how one does, you know, one has to transform one's everyday life. One has to bring it into the past like that. Yeah.
Any last questions online? Oh, okay, Sheila.
We have another follow-up question from Sheil, but first, Jennifer wants to know if the book by Padong Rinpoche is easy to understand, if it would need to be explained by a teacher.
I haven't understood the question.
The question was the Liberation in the Palm of Handbook by Pabonka. Can that be read by oneself, or does it need to be explained by a teacher?
I think Liberation in Palm of Land is quite self-explanatory because it's so detailed and it's quite self-explanatory. You speak about liberation in the palm of your hand or liberation in your hand?
There are two translations. The one that FPMT usually uses, used to be golden, and now the single volume one is the liberation in the palm of your hand. And the other one, the 3-volume one from Mahayana Sutra and Tantra, that's liberation in our hands.
Yeah, so the second one is better than the first. So the first one has a language that is little bit, a little bit irritating in the sense that it can be, it's like a father calling his student, his child. He is a little bit condescending the way it comes across, whether the liberation in your hand doesn't have that flavor. So I personally prefer the second.
If you're wondering the one specifically he's talking about is in 3 volumes.
Yeah.
It's called Liberation in Our Hands, and it's published by Mahayana Sutra and Tantra Press.
Yeah. So and in that one you have the appendix, which speaks about the realization. In the 1 volume you don't have it. Yeah.
Also the footnotes, there are footnotes explaining all the little things that are very useful. Yeah. Any other questions online? Sheila?
Shil's question is, I have been trying to convince myself that I need to be in the present moment.
Just one thing. Just one thing. Regarding the previous question, I think it's also good, liberation in the palm of your hand is excellent. But it's good to have at the same time pit instruction, Lamrim from His Holiness Dalai Lama, for example, or Lama Zopa Rinpoche, to bring alive the Lamrim of Lama Tsongkhapa from Pabongka Rinpoche. Because Pabongka Rinpoche was written in the 19th century, I think so, something like that. So it's a little bit old school, whereas His Holiness Dalai Lama and Lama Zopa Rinpoche have a more contemporary example, more contemporary, because they deal with our modern culture, so they have modern example, they know the modern mind, so it helps, to understand what Pabongka Rinpoche actually explains, So it's good to combine this modern contemporary teacher, especially if you have had a personal teacher. So if you take teachings that your own teacher gave you, so because you had that personal connection with that teacher, that helps you, it speaks you more to your heart. Yeah.
Sheila, you were asking a question?
Thank you. Shil asks, I have been trying to convince myself that I need to be in the present moment, but I honestly don't know what that means. Does it mean that whenever I'm doing, excuse me, does it mean whatever I'm doing, I am aware of my 5 senses and not making my mind go to past and present? When I do this, when it does, I use one of my senses to be aware of what is happening in the present moment. Like I am walking and I look and see the birds. I hear the cars. I feel my feet on the ground. Is this present moment awareness?
So in certain tradition, you have that type of mindfulness. In our tradition, we don't have that type of mindfulness. So in our tradition, the type of mindfulness you have, yes, is to become aware of the present moment. But in that present moment, are you actually virtuous or non-virtuous? Another type of mindfulness, am I living with bodhicitta moment for moment? Another awareness is being aware of emptiness of inherent existence, of merely label all the time, moment by moment. Or am I aware that every moment I'm coming closer to death? With each step, I'm a step closer to death. With each second that passes, I'm a second closer to death. So you use the awareness of the present moment, but in order to enhance your realization of the Lamrim. So it's not just to be in the present moment. Does that help?
I think so,
Okay.
yes.
Yes,
Okay.
thank you.
Amy?
Just one thing I wanted to recommend was there's a new Lamrim by His Holiness that was transcribed from His Holiness by Dayap Rinpoche and translated by Gavin Kilty that I found wonderful, and I don't know what you would think about it or
Yeah,
how you would, whether you would recommend it.
I don't know. I haven't read it, so I cannot say
Yeah.
anything about it. But yes, I mean, there are many wonderful texts out there, and there are now so many that one cannot read all of them.
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe we conclude with a little meditation, maybe 5 minutes. So within the silence of your mind, try to awaken your spiritual aspiration, so that it's always good at the end of a retreat to aspire to do more retreats, so that one creates the cause for more retreats. And also to send loving kindness to all our companion on the path. So all the people in this room and all the people which follow us on Zoom, So we try to connect with each other from the heart. We are all our special Sangha. And without this Sangha, the spiritual development is very difficult. So we need each other. And we should see that relationship as something precious, and we should cultivate it and help each other as much as one can by seeing that we are really Vaja brother and Vaja sister on the path. So it's like a very special relationship that we have with each other. And in the future, we might be all together being born at the feet, being student of Lama Zopa Rinpoche again, of His Holiness Dalai Lama again. So due to our special connection we have with each other, we'll meet again and again from lifetime to lifetime. And so to conclude, I would like that we do the dedication for Lama Tsongkhapa Guru Yoga we did this morning. So during this weekend, we have created a lot of positive karma by reflecting on the gradual path to enlightenment and trying to induce some of these experience. So yes, so much positive karma has been created. So now collectively we can dedicate those merits. So first again for our friend here at the center, that was a member of the center here, and the dear husband of June Parker. So for Billy Parker, for him to get to be born in a Pure Land where he can reach enlightenment, or at least get a precious human rebirth again and meet fully qualified teacher. And from his side, that very young in his life, he has this spiritual aspiration, and like that, when he quickly become Buddha for the sake of all living beings. And then each one individually, we might have had relatives or friends that passed away. So we also send love and compassion and dedicate our merit to them, so that wherever they are, may they be helped by the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas and be led to a good place. And then to all the beings, we might have come here, but we left at home other people, so they accepted us to come to this retreat, but they would have rather had us stay with them, but they were happy for us to go, because they love us. So for our partner, our family, our friends, our dear ones, May our merit help contributes to their happiness as well. And then if we have friends, relatives that are sick or old or dying, again, we dedicate the merit because of our karmic connection with them. We can help them more than other people. So may our merit help them. Then the dedication from Lama Tsongkhapa Guru Yoga. May we live a life of pure morality, listen to many teachings, train in bodhicitta, and have pure view and conduct. Glorious Guru, whatever your body, birth, any lifespan, and whatever your supreme and excellent name, may I and everyone become exactly like you. By the power of offering these praises and requests, may all disease, spirit harm, poverty, and quarrels end. And may the holy Dharma and good fortune increase wherever they are residing. May the lives of the glorious Gurus be long, and all beings equal the extent of space be happy. May we collect great stores of merit, purify all expression, and may we quickly achieve enlightenment. May I not judge for even a second any actions done by the glorious Guru. With this devotion, may I receive the Buddha's blessing in my heart. For the benevolent dreams are not so coming. May all obstacles be removed and all condition be complete. Due to the two types of merit or the three times of myself and other, may the teachings of the victorious one, Losang Drapa, shine resplendent forever. Due to the three times merit collected by myself, countless Buddhas and countless sentient beings, may I, my family, friends, and relatives, all warmly have promised to pray, whose name have been given to me, all the students, benefactors, and training, and all sentient beings, may all those that live find us. No, from our side, may we see all these beings as enlightened. Always do only actions pleasing to them, and immediately fulfill their holy wishes. In the land encircled by snow mountains, you are the source of all happiness and good, all powerful, cleansing generosity. Please remain until samsara ends. Savior of the snow-lined teachings and being, you clarify the path that unifies the emptiness and compassion. Lotus Hall of Tenzin Gyatso, may all your wishes be spontaneously fulfilled. Pearless teacher and assembly of the Bodhisattva, Shravakai, Pratyeka Buddha, victorious Losong, father and son, along with the lineage master, all the objects of refuge in the world, please bestow the virtues of goodness. Please pray here and now. Holding and spreading the Muni's precious and complete teachings through excellence and messages. Reward the manifestations of all meditation. Incomparable Holy Guru, I make request to you. While striving single-portedly for the sake of Buddha's teaching, the sole gateway to which all benefit happiness. Amen. And what it means, you suddenly depart to peace. What a great loss. To the unceasing truths of the blessings of the old Chitta and the great wave of bodhicitta coming from the may the smile of the reincarnation quickly be dissolved in a final thought I have. I think it would be good, if in the center you arrange a Lamrim study group. Maybe with the help of your geshe, so that you are present at the topic and then you discuss it or you do analytical meditation on it and then you meditate on it. So you have you know, like we did here, there are that can lead meditation, you know, many of you, so, you know, you did good job, all of you. So in turn, you know, you take turn to lead a meditation. I think would be excellent. So you have two ideas. One is the calm abiding one. The other one is the Lamrim meditation. So both are good. I think the calm abiding one could be done non-denominational one, you know, so that it's open to everyone. So it's not necessarily Buddhist. You know, it can be just a simple motivation and a simple dedication, but just, you know, that fits everyone. You know, so then, yeah, it can be open to everyone, and then an old student could lead it, and we can even take turn. And so it's just always available. Like you mentioned that in that hotel, you know, that you offer something there. So you can also offering something similar here that is open to everyone. I think would be a good idea. And then, yeah, you take turn to sit there. I remember when I used to go to Bodh Gaya, there was the Zen center. So every morning at 6, we would go to the Zen center, and there was one monk, not always the same. So he would probably open the door and he would sit there and ring the gong, and he sat there with us for an hour, and it was nice, you know. So we would come in, he was silent. Everybody came in with their own mind. There was no thought at all. Right? We sat with him and we left. There was no thought at all. There was just a space, everybody to come to sit together. It was sweet, you know, kind of like that. Okay, I finished my job.
Venerable, we would like to offer mandala offerings.
Okay.
To thank you for your teachings. Sajipati Yokshinamento Tramlingsi Nidagapadi Sangye Shindu Mite Yuva Ida Shila Chubasho Getsu Lame Utsu Laten Trila Chuge Padam Lo Zambente Lene Serasum Gijwa Se Sadu Idam Guratna Mandala Kamiyatami. Thank you so much. I have an idea. which is that of all the people who are on Zoom, if they could put their cameras on, then we could take a screenshot, and it would be nice to know all the people who attended the retreat.
Good idea, Shankar. Thanks. Yes.
Maybe I'm going to look at them. You have to screen that. Nice to meet you all. Thank you so much for joining. Wonderful. Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you, Venerable.
Kayla, could you take a screenshot, please, of all the online students? Thank you so much, guys, for turning on your cameras. And we will have a kata offering ceremony here in a couple of minutes, and there will also be an opportunity for our online sangha and friends and community to offer kata. So I'm going to talk for another 2 minutes or so, and for you guys who have a kata at home and can run and grab it, you'll have an opportunity to offer it to Venerable as well. And in the meantime, I don't know if you know this, Venerable, but New Mexico is called a land of enchantment.
Oh.
Did you know that?
No.
So I'm thinking, after this weekend, I think we are going to call you a teacher of enchantment. Because you enchanted us all, Venerable, by your kindness, by your incredible generosity of sharing those teachings with us, by your good heart, by your peaceful mind, which somehow almost seems almost impossible in my case. Somehow it rubs off on us. So thank you for giving us this moment of peace also in our minds. And I'm well aware that it's not coming from the street, it's coming from years and years of sitting on the cushion and doing the hard work for us, Venerable. And for that, I really wanted to thank you for every single meditation session you did. So you came to where you are and can give to us what we can receive from you. And when you said we should aspire to have more retreats in our life, I'm sure I was not the only one who was aspiring to have more retreats with you. So, in the center. So I really hope that you also feel like we think like you're a teacher of enchantment, that this is the Buddhist center of enchantment, and New Mexico and Santa Fe is a city of enchantment. We hope you are a little enchanted by it and willing to come back. And you are so invited, Venerable, anytime. If you wish to come live here, you are invited. If you wish to come for a few days, you are invited. We would be so honored, so happy to have you here again. Thank you so much for everything you have done. And we will have the kata offering ceremony now. So if you guys are ready, we can start. Thank you so much.
Maybe you can take the computer. Ale. Yeah, because it's closer than that micro. It's okay. Maybe come here. Maybe come here. It's closer. You see that?
Yes, absolutely.
Love you. Thank you. Yes. You must. Yes.
Please come back.
You will.
Everything between chores.
It's for change.
Such a gift to be with you last night and
Uh,
all weekend. It was such a gift to be with you
Oh,
last
yeah.
night and all weekend.
Thank you. Always nice to see. We know each other now more than 20 years. Yeah. What's your name?
Ajna.
Ajna. Nice to meet you.
It's been a real pleasure.
Thank you, Najas. Thank you. Ah, yes.
So once we're done with the kata offering, which will be very soon here, people online can do their virtual kata offering.
What's your name? Victor. Victor. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet
Thank
you.
you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Yes, yeah, yeah, yeah. And she, it's Paul.
It's Bob. It's Bob.
And while we're waiting, I just wanted to also thank all the volunteers online and here for supporting the center and the event. All the participants, because without you, these events would make no sense. So thank you so much. Thank you to our members, our benefactors for keeping us afloat and keeping this operation possible. Each and single one of you contributes to the success of the center, and there's lots of resources and energy that goes into it. Thank you so much, everybody.
Yes, yes, yes.
And Nancy is preparing the screen for Venerable so that he can see you all, guys.
Thank you, everyone.